Hello, Daisy Cakes! Welcome back to the channel where we're going to pick another retro Hugo to add to my TBR. Why? Because I am Daisy Ex Machina, the drag queen detective who investigates all things speculative in science fiction, fantasy, and horror. And today we're going to be looking at the 1945 retro Hugos, looking at all the nominees and then picking one to add to my TBR, not necessarily the winner. Okay, so let's list them. I'll tell you who won, and then we'll look into the blurbs. The nominees for 1945 are Shadow Over Mars, or The Nemesis from Terra by Leigh Brackett. The Golden Fleece by Robert Graves. Land of Terror by Edgar Rice Burroughs. Sirius, A Fantasy of Love and Discord by Olaf Stapledon. The Wind in the Moon by Eric Linklater. And The Winged Man, co-authored by A.E. Van Vogt and Edna Mayne Hall. And the winner is Leigh Brackett, Shadow Over Mars, aka The Nemesis from Terra. Okay, we're going to start with Shadow Over Mars by Leigh Brackett. Now, I've been wanting to read something by Leigh Brackett for quite some time because she is known as the queen of the space opera. I just haven't gotten around to it. I don't remember reading anything by her. So I am really excited to read the blurb. So let's look it up on Goodreads. Rick Urquhart was going to conquer the turmoil-ridden planet of Mars. He was penniless and unknown, but there could be no doubt that he would rule the red planet. The ancient Martian mystic has made the prophecy. There was no way fate could cheat him of his prize. But there were powerful interests on both Earth and Mars who did not believe in prophecies, and they were going to undo Rick's future before it had a chance to begin. Okay, well, we said Leigh Brackett is known as the queen of the space opera, and there looks like some space opera themes going on. It sounds a little bit political to me, and I like political science fiction sometimes. So I am very curious about this one. This is definitely a contender. Next up is The Golden Fleece by Robert Graves. Now, I know I've read at least parts of this book in high school, and this is not the type of book I'm looking to pick because I'm looking for Golden Age science fiction writers, and I don't think Robert Graves is really known as a Golden Age science fiction writer, but I'll read the blurb. And I am not going to read the blurb on Goodreads because it is ridiculously long. So I'm going to find one on Amazon. The author of I, Claudius puts his own twist on the myth of the Argonauts' quest for the Golden Fleece, a tour de force, a richly tapestried epic, says Kirkus Reviews. An inventive reimagining of the story of Jason and the Argonauts, this novel by renowned poet and classicist Robert Graves brings heroic figures of the Hellenistic myth to life. Graves' Jason is belligerent, energetic, and full of life, and the society Graves builds for him is outlandish and deeply invested in ancient cults. Against this primitive religious backdrop, the charismatic Jason assembles a crew and sets out to retrieve the sacred golden-trimmed fleece that is sacred to Zeus, and that has been stolen by worshippers of the triple goddess. Accompanying him is Hercules, a brave warrior known more for his brawn and his astonishingly good luck than his brains. Robert Graves builds a compelling world that says Hellenistic magic and mystery in a surprising, gritty, realistic setting, a fascinating read for fans of Greek mythology. Now, again, I don't think I'm going to pick this one up because I don't believe Robert Graves is really the type of Golden Age science fiction writer I'm looking for, but of course, he is well known for retelling of Greek history and mythology. And if you haven't seen the PBS version of I, Claudius, based on his work, you are really missing out. Next up, Planet of Terror by Edgar Rice Burroughs. I have already read this one. I am a huge fan of the Pellucidar series, or, the At the Earth's Core series by Edgar Rice Burroughs. So I won't be picking this up for my TBR, but I will go ahead and read the blurb. If you have ever wondered what a civilized man of the 20th century would do if catapulted into an old stone age where huge cave bears, saber-toothed tigers, monstrous carnivorous dinosaurs, mammoths, and mastodons roam the savage terrain, you need look no further than Land of Terror, the sixth installment of Edgar Rice Burroughs' Pellucidar series. Years ago, David Innes and Abner Perry bored straight down through 500 miles of the Earth's crust and landed in Pellucidar, the savage, primeval world that lies in the center of the Earth. This is a story of their continuing adventures in the timeless land of perpetual noon, and their encounters with the hideous creatures and savage men who pursue them. Although they encounter enemies at every turn, David and Abner find a few loyal friends as they embark on exhilarating adventures. Doesn't that sound exciting? I love the Pellucidar books. I've read them all. And my favorite, I read almost everything by Burroughs except for Tarzan. I was not really into Tarzan except when Tarzan went to the Earth's core. Okay, so let's go ahead and look up the next one. Olaf Stapledon's Sirius, A Fantasy of Love and Discord. Now, I got a lot of crap for not knowing who Olaf Stapledon is. I still don't believe I've read anything about him, but he is, I assume, well known in science fiction since people have mentioned him. So let's go ahead and read the blurb. Sirius is Thomas Trelawney's great experiment, a huge, handsome dog with the brain and intelligence of a human being. Raised and educated in Trelawney's own family alongside Plaxi, his youngest daughter, Sirius is a truly remarkable and gifted creature. His relationship with the Trelawneys, particularly with Plaxi, is deep and close, and his inquiring mind ranges across the spectrum of human knowledge and experience, but Sirius isn't human, and the conflicts and inner turmoil that torture him cannot be resolved. Okay, I had no idea this is about a, genetically altered dog. I am fascinated by Sirius. This one is a definite maybe. This is a strong contender. Moving on, we have The Wind on the Moon by Eric Linklater. I've never heard of this author or this book, so I'm excited to look it up. Winner of the Carnegie Medal in the English village of Mid-Middlecombe, Major Palfrey asks his two daughters to behave themselves while he is off at war. Sighs Dinah, I think that we are quite likely to be bad, however hard we try not to be. And her sister Dorinda adds, helpfully, very often when we think we are behaving well, some grown-up person says we are really quite bad. It's difficult to tell which is which. Sure enough, the mischievous sisters soon convince a judge that minds must be changed as often as socks. Stage an escape from the local zoo, thanks to a witch's potion that turns them into kangaroos, and, in the company of a golden puma and silver falcon, set off to rescue their father from the tyrant of Bombardi. A tale of hilarity and great adventure, The Wind on the Moon is also a work of high seriousness. After all, life without freedom, as the valiant puma makes clear, is a poor, poor thing. Okay, I was not expecting a children's book, and that's what The Wind and the Moon is. As some of you may know, I'm trying to be a children's writer, so I'm very interested in this, but I don't think I'm going to pick it for this game because I don't believe Eric Linklater is considered a golden age science fiction writer, but I'm glad I found this out. And real quick, I have never seen this before. This is on the cover design in the Wikipedia. I guess this is the first edition. Instead of saying illustrated by, it says Nicholas Bentley drew the pictures. I've never seen that before. I thought that was amusing. Okay, let's move on to the next Hugo nominee. This is the last one, The Winged Man, co-authored by A.E. Van Vogt and Edna Mayne Hall, who at the time was married to A.E. Van Vogt. And she's a Canadian science fiction writer. Okay. It wasn't a bird, but it couldn't be a man. Lieutenant William Kenlin had watched the incredible creature circling the submarine sea serpent in the darkness of the night, and he could barely believe what he saw. The giant winged monster was human, and it was intent on some purpose. That involved the sub and its crew. Then the creature landed, and suddenly, impossibly, the sea serpent was in another world. A world of the far future, where the land was uninhabitable, and humanity, as Kenlin knew it, had died out. A world in which the strange birdmen of the air warred with the even stranger denizens of the sea for dominion. And in that bizarre battle for survival, the men from the 20th century were the vital factor. This book is an expanded version of E. Mayne Hall's short story, The Winged Man, which originally appeared in Astounding Science Fiction in 1944. Apparently, it was expanded and revised by Van Vogt, who added 25,000 words, altogether inserted a new villain, and made better use of some of the characters, to quote a quote from Galactic Central Bibliography. Okay, I don't know what to make of that. It sounds like Edna Mayne Hall wrote this book. She's a Canadian science fiction author. She married A.E. Van Vogt, and then he rewrote it. It doesn't really say they collaborated on the new revision. I don't know. It sounds interesting. Let's go ahead and pick one book to add to our TBR based on these 1945 retro Hugos. I don't think I'm going to be picking Robert Graves' Golden Fleece. And I've already read Land of Terror by Edgar Rice Burroughs, so no for that. And I'm a little confused about The Winged Man. I'm going to say no to The Winged Man. I'm also going to say no to The Wind on the Moon by Eric Linklater, even though I am thrilled. It's a children's book. For the purposes of this TBR game, I don't think I'm going to pick it. That leaves Olaf Stapledon's Sirius, A Fantasy of Love and Discord, about a genetically modified dog, and Leigh Brackett's Shadow over Mars. And I'm going to go with, I want to read them both, but I'm going to go with Leigh Brackett. I'm going to go with Leigh Brackett's Shadow over Mars because I've been wanting to read Leigh Brackett for a long time now. She usually wrote short stories, so it's hard to find her novels. Well, found one of her novels. It won the Retro Hugo. She is the queen of the space opera, so I'm excited to delve into Shadow over Mars. Okay, I want to know what books you would have picked based on the blurb, the cover, whatever you want, whatever research you want to do. Go ahead and let me know down in the comments. And while you're there, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to my channel. Until we meet again, may all the books you read be blessed.